Hi, I'm Fred Joy, your host for the Smarter Software Outsourcing Podcast. Today, I'm excited to share my recent interview with Derek Gallimore on the Outsource Accelerator Podcast. We explored the world of outsourcing, how Arcanys fosters a healthy work culture, and how Arcanys Ventures support startups through strategic investments. The following highlights were discussed: the founding of Arcanys and Arcanys Ventures, the journey from a software development outsourcing provider to a software augmentation firm and tech equity investor, winning the Outsourcing Impact Review 2023, how the Arcanys Early Learning Foundation has provided free early math education to nearly 5,000 families in Cebu, and lastly, cultivating culture and community, our commitment to employee health and fitness, including activities like our CrossFit gym. This episode is packed with insights on building an outsourcing ecosystem and making a community impact. You can listen to the full conversation here. Thank you for tuning in.
Hi, and welcome back to the show. Today, I am joined by Fred Joy. He is the co-founder and managing partner of Arcanys Ventures and also the co-founder and head of growth for Arcanys, their core company. Fred has a fascinating story. He's Swiss, has been based in Cebu in the Philippines for about the past 15 years, and they have built a really fascinating gem of a company with now vast sort of community impact and other companies within the web of Arcanys, the core company. So we discuss all of that. Arcanys is fundamentally a outsourcing firm for software engineers and developers, coders, that sort of stuff. Arcanys Ventures is the venture arm connected to that business. They also have an education foundation and also, intriguingly, a CrossFit gym connected to the Arcanys company. So it's a really fascinating story, and it's great to have Fred back on the show. He's been with us, I think, now 2 or 3 times, so you can go back and listen to my previous podcast with him. As always, if you want any of the show notes, go to outsourceaccelerator.com/podcast. Enjoy. Just a quick announcement to tell you that the OA Outsourcing Impact Review 2024 is coming up later this year. The Outsourcing Impact Review, or OIR, is an annual study by Outsource Accelerator. That's us, the world's leading outsourcing marketplace and advisory. This project is at the forefront of redefining perspectives on outsourcing, a powerful but often misunderstood business tool. At its core, the OIR aims to recognize the remarkable impact programs led by outsourcing companies globally. The 2023 review and awards were an absolute hit. We announced the winners back in October 2023, and we're going to do that again this year, this October. So we are asking for nominations again for this year's entry, and any participants are welcome. If you are a part of the outsourcing industry and you do good within the community, whether it's a program or an outreach or charity or education or training or something like that related to your community, your employees regarding outsourcing, we want to hear about it. The OIR is all about documenting the good work that goes on in the outsourcing industry. So if you want to learn more, please go to impact.outsourceaccelerator.com to learn more. There you can see the 2023 report. I encourage you to download that. And also you can submit any nominations. So again, that's impact.outsourceaccelerator.com. Fred, it's great to have you back once again. I think you're one of our frequent guests on the show, so really good to chat to you and get updates. We are in a bit of a positive impact themed month. The upcoming OIR 2024 is out there now, and we are talking to people specifically about how outsourcing can bring positive impact to the people and communities surrounding it. So know that Arcanys and your wheelhouse of businesses really do positively contribute to that in many ways. You got the Silver Award for the Outsourcing Impact Award for the education section in 2023. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Really excited to hear about all of this and of course updates, because you're doing so many things, so many projects. So excited to have you. Fred, I suppose we can start by just getting updates. Just let people know if they haven't heard previous podcasts, what is the core Arcanys company? And then we can maybe hear about Arcanys Ventures as well.
Sure. So Arcanys, the core of our business that we founded almost 15 years ago with Alan, my business partner. So we're two Swiss high school friends, actually, who founded that business in Cebu in the Philippines in 2010. We provide long-term software development teams, augmentation services. So basically what we do for companies, mostly in Europe, in Australia as well, and a little bit of the west coast of the US, we provide long-term dedicated developers that are augmenting usually their existing development team, or in some cases, we can actually be the development team of companies and add fractional CTOs and any other skills that are required to have a well-functioning software development team.
Fantastic. And you have quite a narrow, ideal customer, don't you? You don't want to work for general companies that have a bit of tech on the side. You generally only work with companies that are tech at their core. Is that correct?
That's right. So yeah, we're particularly working with, for example, B2B SaaS businesses or even hardware companies that are having a heavy, SaaS offering to enable all the hardware devices that they're creating, for example. It could be also companies like, for example, one of our clients is the REPOST. So we work on like heavy business applications on a long-term basis. So we have, 70 people that are working for that particular customer. But in general, we're looking at small to medium businesses that are in the B2B SaaS space.
And my understanding of developers is, they need a good environment to work from. They need to be feeling good about their environment and where they are. Otherwise, developers, they're very expensive. It's very hard to find good ones. They can be a little bit temperamental. And so you have really invested significantly and consciously building a very productive, happy, healthy environment at Arcanys. Is that right?
We're trying. So one of the reasons why our customers love us and why people come to us is because we have managed the attrition very well. So we have a very low attrition rate that's below, I think for last year was well below 8%. Yeah, we have team members that are staying on the long term. We've also, for the second year in a row, one of the best workplaces in the Philippines that is given by Great Place to Work. And that's been voted by our employees, right? So it's them who are voting amongst, I think, 450 other thousand people are voting for their companies. And we've been named one of the best IT workplaces in the Philippines. And of course, we do a lot of work to get these awards. We do a lot on the salaries. We do a lot on the benefits as well, and everything that goes around that. So we're very focused on health and fitness, for example. So it's mental health, physical health, and fitness for our employees, and trying to make our workplace a really fun and also a learning environment to be in.
That's amazing. And then, so your core business is Arcanys, but it has, there's now kind of a web of peripheral businesses around that. Can you explain that and maybe the synergies between them?
Yes. So the last thing we did, I'll just be brief about that, but we opened a CrossFit gym in Cebu for employees. So I'm a huge CrossFit fan and my business partner, Alan, as well. And we wanted to do something a little different. So we created a gym for our employees and ourselves. And it's also open to the public. So out of the, I think, 300 plus employees that we have, I think 100 people that are showing up regularly at the gym to work out. So we've managed to get a lot of people think about their health and work out. The other thing that maybe you were asking about is Arcanys Ventures. And about 7 years ago, we realized that we could also invest in the startups we were working with initially. So when we had clients that were raising funds, they were either asking us if we could participate to a raise, or the clients that we really believed in, we were telling them, hey, next time you're raising funds, let us know. Maybe there's another way we could participate than just giving you cash. And that's kind of how Arcanys Ventures is born. And today we have 25 investments that we've made in companies all around the globe, from the US to Europe, some in Asia, but a few, and in Australia. And so that's been going really well. We've accelerated the pace at which we invest. We even have a partnership now with Techstars Sydney, Techstars Milan, and Techstars Paris, where we We help some of their startups and invest in them. We've invested in 3 Techstars startups. And what we do here is we're investing in late seed, pre-Series A companies with manpower. So basically, our investment is not cash per se, but we are augmenting their existing development team to deliver more during the term of the investment. And of course, the idea is that we keep the team with them for the long term. And so we've seen really, really nice traction with that model. We've got one exit in 2021 to A6, which is the shoe company. They've purchased one of our Australian businesses. And we have a few more that are looking at either a trade sale, potentially an IPO, or growing organically.
That's amazing, isn't it? And the synergies are obvious, but it just seems to fit so well. And amazing that you have those partnerships with tech stars across countries. It reminds me a little bit of Sam Altman when he was the CEO of Y Combinator. He was actually investing on the side personally into any of the tearaway successes of Y Combinator, and now he's worth about $3 billion. So you're probably onto a good thing there, Fred.
Yeah, and we've done that a few times, investing our own money aside of Arcanys, right? And the funny thing, the way we got the partnership with Techstars, we met one of the managing directors probably 10 years ago in a startup event, actually in the Philippines, in Boracay. And we kept our friendship with that guy. And we actually, a few years later, helped him with one of his startups. And so that's how we kept the relationship going. And then when he joined Techstars, we always kept in touch. And whenever he had one of his portfolio companies struggling with tech, he would think about us, and then we'd step in to give a bit of guidance. And it ended up so that we actually invested in one of his portfolio companies, and then another 2 this year, actually, from other Techstars entities.
Because tech, for a certain kind of business, tech is just so critical, isn't it? And there's probably a lot of founders that have really, a lot of energy and good intentions, but they don't necessarily have the sophistication of building complex tech things. Yeah. People are sort of in their young 20s and things can get pretty complicated pretty quick, I imagine. Yeah. And so it takes kind of a bit of experience to properly engineer solutions.
Yeah, that's right. And so what we see usually is it's easy to get the first kind of product, right? So the MVP, or like a little bit more elaborate than that, and maybe even have a few first customers. But when you come on the late seed or pre-Series A stage, you're usually in need for serious acceleration because you're raising money to increase sales, increase also obviously the product, but you also need then a really serious architecture to enable you for growth. And so that's where we step in, because we have like really senior expert software architect that from Europe that come in and advise the startups and help them rethink the architecture of their product to make sure that they're ready to scale. And then in addition to that, and that's the core of our offering, is to get them the engineers they need to grow. And because we're doing this from the Philippines, we're 3 to 4 times like cheaper, if you want, than if they were hiring on site. So basically with the same amount of money they're raising, let's say they're raising, $1 million and they think about investing $500,000 in tech, these $500,000 would get them a lot further with an investment in kind from Arcanys, rather than using that money to then hire software engineers in Australia and the US or wherever in a high wage country.
It's almost like a $3 to $4 million injection, isn't it?
Yeah, there's already a return on that money.
Fascinating. And then just briefly as well, Fred, you have the education organization as well, yeah?
So we have the Arcanys Early Learning Foundation, for which we won the Silver Award from Outsource Accelerator last year. And this initiative has been running for, I think, 11 or 12 years now, where we provide early math education to poor families in Cebu through teachers that enable the parents to be the first teachers of their own kids, right? And we've done many studies, actually, scientific studies to kind of measure the results of our efforts. And it's been really super encouraging. We've helped, I can't remember how many, but probably close to 8,000 or 9,000 families over the years.
That's amazing. Is it sort of like, is that through mostly information distribution, like, showing people how to educate effectively?
So we've hired teachers that are being paid by the foundation. And we have developed, so because we do early math, we have developed a set of cards with animals and, like counting animals and stuff like that, with plenty of games that we teach the parents on how to use them with their kids. And we do train the parents with the kids there. So we show the parents how we do this with the kids. And then the parents keep doing this under the watch of the teacher for 3 to 6 months, because the games can become quite complicated with not just counting, but addition, subtraction, and all that stuff. And what we've seen with these kids that are usually around 4 years old, they keep their advance in math throughout their whole lives, basically.
Right.
I mean, we've got 12 years of data, and we follow some of these kids to see how they're performing in school afterwards. And so like the results are really amazing, because it gives so much confidence to the parent for realizing that they have a positive impact in the life of their kid, because we were talking about very poor families. They were really like the poorest in Cebu. And so it's empowering the parent, it's empowering the kid as well. It improved even the relationship between the parent and the kids, because they do something really productive together. And we also give them a few lessons on like, okay, why is it bad to hit your kid? And, like all this kind of stuff on the side as well, to make sure that they are in a better environment.
That's amazing, Fred. But it's certainly, you must be busy keeping the general principle of business is to stay focused, but you have, really kind of fanned out in terms of your involvement in things. And do you feel that they're all sort of synergistic and they all kind of help the whole thing?
Yeah. So, I mean, my business partner is super involved, for example, in the foundation, right? So it's not like we are busy, but we also have put a team together that in each of the businesses that we trust and that are also, helping us do all these things. And to your question, if there is a synergy, I would say yes, because if we look at, we have the Arcanys, which is the main business that we initially talked about. We have Arcanys Ventures, which is one way for us to also try to get extremely interesting projects for our developers to work on. So to get them super motivated to learn like cutting edge technologies and stuff like that. So that helps a lot with the retention. We have the foundation that shows that we are very involved in the community. I mean, we're not just here to make money, right? We're also here to make a difference. And the last thing with Arcanys CrossFit, we are focusing very much on the health of our people, so that they're, like, it's not just work, right? Because it's a community, we have events and stuff like that. And to kind of like close the circle is one way we are using our employees to be engaged in what the foundation is doing is every time they work out, we give them a small incentive, monetary incentive to every time they finish a workout, they get 50 pesos or whatever. And we match this amount with a donation to the foundation. So we've raised, I don't know, $8,000 or something in the last 18 months. I can't really remember the numbers, but something substantial for the foundation every time they work out. We do this through an application that is called Arc Workouts. We give watches, like smartwatches, to our employees so they can record their workouts. There's a leaderboard, and we're all competing in a fun way to enable each other to do better for ourselves and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, we try to, enable everything that we've done for everyone to benefit as much as possible.
It's a fascinating program, specifically using CrossFit, because it is known to be, it's almost like cultish level in terms of the community that it builds and the camaraderie, and then you're sort of connecting that with the workplace. And so it's going to build the sense of community and camaraderie and drop attrition, isn't it? Because everyone's kind of in it together. It's really, really powerful.
It is. And I think even more so in a work from home setup where a lot of our people are not coming to the office anymore since COVID, right? And so we had to, and if you force people to come back to the office, a third of the people are going to resign because they can find a job from home, whatever. But we also felt like, if you want to keep the culture of the business alive, then you have to do something a bit different where people still actually meet without it feeling like it's a chore. So then there's the CrossFit gym. So there's plenty of people that go to the box. That's what we call the gym. But they see their colleagues at the gym, chat with them, get an update. We've made a big place where people can actually sit and chit chat, and some of them can actually work a little bit. It's not like, I guess, super real work, but, at least pretend they're working, and it keeps this engagement very much alive. And every now and then we throw a party on a Friday or Saturday night. And this gym becomes like the most fun dance club with a karaoke and stuff for people, drinking, laughing and whatever. And we're also doing sometimes like a sports fest and stuff like that. We're slowly ramping that up. Until now, it's been once a year, but it lasts for a month with different kinds of sports. So it's not just CrossFit. And we're planning to do like quarterly and monthly little challenges and stuff.
And have you done any analysis? You said about a third of your team regularly work out in the CrossFit gym. Have you done any kind of analysis on, how do they perform? What's their attrition like? And, what's their performance like at work compared to the other 2/3? I don't know if that's kind of controversial to look through deeper into that.
Yeah. So we have 1/3 that are coming to the gym, but I think we have like close to 60%, if not more, of the company that's actually working out, because we sponsor other things than just our gym, right? We don't want people to be stuck into that, and for people who are not in Cebu to have nothing. So we've managed to get, I think, from 10% of the people before we started all of our health initiatives, maybe 7 years ago, to more than 60% of the people doing some sort of exercise. So that's a huge improvement. But we haven't really measured how are people more or less performing better or not, or we haven't measured like nutrition for people who are working out versus the ones who are not. We probably should do that because it would probably give us some interesting insights. But yeah, we've seen people feeling so much more empowered because of what they realize they can do with their bodies and stuff like that. So we've really seen people blossom, but we haven't really measured it in a very analytical way.
Yeah, it'd be difficult to sort of cut through the noise, wouldn't it? Get clean data, but no doubt there's incredible benefits there that people are seeing. And, you're seeing it through the low attrition rates and things like that. It's really pretty powerful stuff. And do you, again, whether it's controversial or not, do you then, after many years of doing this, do you tend to lean towards hiring people who have an affinity to fitness and things like that, or it just wouldn't even sort of cross your mind?
Yeah, it kind of crossed our mind, but at the end of the day, not at all. So we really look at the attitude at work towards their job and the skills that they have, right? And so I'm going to say something a little controversial here. What we've done, we've kind of forced people to work out a little bit. So we wanted them to kind of see what it is to exercise a little bit. And so we created teams. So for example, it's by client team. So for example, we have the team client A, and that's like 10 people. So once every 2 months, you guys have to come to the gym and work out together. And we do this under the supervision of one of our coaches. We are extremely beginner oriented, but we just want people to move. And what is amazing is that people who were kind of like against it, like saying, the bosses are forcing us to work out, blah, blah, blah. A lot of them have actually started to kind of like exercising. So while they're not like, crazy working out 7 days a week, they come maybe once a week, twice a week. And then suddenly they start bringing their partner in. Some of them even come with their kids. Well, some of them can work out and some of them are too young to do that. But like we see things slowly moving in the right direction, if you want. And we have to kind of like nudge them a little bit to come. And there's a little resistance at the beginning, but then they kind of like really start enjoying it. So that's what we've done.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because, it could be seen as a little bit of overreaching and there could be a little bit of resentment. But, if people
it totally is. Yeah.
Get over that hurdle, then, I assume a lot of them are seeing the benefits. And then I assume when you have a lot of cheerleaders, people that have seen the difference, and actually it's going to be their colleagues that are encouraging them to do this as opposed to the boss saying it's good for them. It's fascinating evolution.
So I agree with you. It could create a bit of resentment, but we try to do this in a really, very kind way and very soft way. So it's only once every 2 months you have to come sweat a little bit. And then after that, actually, you get a meal with your colleagues and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's just about showing up, right? And then if you don't really want to do much, then you don't. But it's still about getting together and in a little bit of a more fun way.
I remember when I first started outsourcing and I was visiting the office in the Philippines, this is sort of 12 years back or something. And there was a fun run in the community and they were discussing whether they join. And they were trying to decide between the 2 kilometer and the 5 kilometer fun run. And I'm like,
Yeah.
That's kind of like a walk to the bus stop sort of thing. It's baby steps.
Yeah. But what's incredible is some people have never, ever exercised since they left school, right? And probably didn't like it back then either. And so you see these small steps. And what's really amazing, what we see at the gym is we opened a year ago and some started with zero coordination, zero strength. They were struggling to hold the bar in their hand. It's pretty heavy. It's 20 kilos for male. And then now you see them and I'm really amazed by the progress they've made and how strong they've become. Some of them, how fit they've become as well. I mean, it's worth it. I think it really is.
That's incredible, isn't it? I'm also into fitness and a convert, and look, I'm very fit. But the other day I took my first boxing class, and it's in the gym where I normally go, and I'm very comfortable in the gym, but I felt useless, and I realized I could not box, and I've never boxed, I've never thrown a punch, and you realize you just feel like an idiot, and I couldn't hit a proper punch, and it's very discouraging at the start, isn't it? And you've got to get over that sort of initial hump, but then you feel better for it.
Yeah, and I guess that's why you take a coach, right? And you learn. But when the beauty of it, boxing is probably the same as CrossFit. It's like you think it's easy because you just see people like punching in the bag. But like boxers, they spend years and years perfecting their movement, right? There's so much to learn. And I think that's the beauty of some of the sport, like CrossFit, boxing, or maybe football or basketball and stuff. You can keep on learning new moves, new movement until you're retired from the sport, really, just never ending.
And coming back to ventures then, it's a fascinating funnel. You and I have spoken, previously about how difficult it is. I think we both believe that every single company should be offshoring a part of their staff. It is just such a profound value proposition for businesses. Not only, can you access a large pool of talented people, it's, very cost effective. And also you sort of get the operational oversight, like you've just mentioned, in terms of the sort of assistance with architecture and things like that. Like there's just so many value propositions, yet there's sort of a fundamental resistance. It is hard to get people on board. And it's interesting, your ventures, Arcanys Ventures, is a sort of secondary funnel into that, isn't it? So massive synergies there. Would you see one sort of taking precedence over another sort of thing? Is it to an extent where, because I suppose there's models of this Arcanys Ventures, like there are accelerators and incubators, aren't there? I don't know if many of them are particularly successful, particularly. I mean, Techstars is kind of one of them, isn't it, in terms of a accelerator sort of model. But do you see it coming to prominence with Arcanys Ventures? What's your vision for it?
I think, when we look at the model, it really makes a lot of sense for us and the startups we're helping. It's the resistance that you mentioned earlier I think it's people there's this trust thing. Like when we talk about outsourcing, sometimes it's, people would only talk about the horror stories of outsourcing. And a lot of people don't talk about how successful some of their experiences have been, right? So outsourcing gets this bad press. But in terms of the funnel, now if we're looking at the funnel for Arcanys, a lot easier to convince a startup or any company that is raising funds and saying, hey, I'm investing in you through people. Even some of them, they prefer cash and they tell us like, okay, we're not interested. But still, when you're helping them raise money, then it probably opens their eyes a lot more to the value of outsourcing, and it's an easier step through the door for us, right? As creating a partnership. And of course, because we're putting our money in that, we also have a strong vested interest for them to succeed. So it kind of, creates that trust a little easier, because it's not like we're taking their money and then providing them with people. It's like we're also putting our money on the table to get them to succeed. I guess it's just shorter to trust. And then in our model, because we're investing at this late stage kind of stage, it's lasting around 12 to 18 months to kind of spend this investment until they reach the next raise. And then when they reach the next raise, the question is, does Arcanys Ventures invest a second time in that business, which is an option, or they're at a stage where they can raise enough money to start paying for the team that we've put together for them, because we're into this long-term partnership. And then even in that case, it means we've managed to create a lot of value for them together, that they like the people that they have with us and that are producing results. And they're like really happy to start paying for these people. And in general, what happened is they grow the team even more because they've realized how much output they could get from the bucks they're spending for software development, right? Plus they have, of course, the team of serious, experienced CTO, fractional CTOs and other senior people in our team that come help them on a, I would say, ad hoc basis.
And how has it changed, over the last 2 or 3 years? The funding environment has dramatically changed, going from a ZERP era to higher interest rates. It's much more difficult to get funding. Back in the heyday, I've had there's all this sort of negative connotation about offshoring and outsourcing, as you say, like everyone's got a horror story. And I got the sense of Silicon Valley that, they're kind of the elite and they would never touch it. A, because they all feel they need the best Stanford grads, and B, they are completely awash with money. So, the proposition of being able to save 70% on a developer, it's not relevant to them. And do you think that's changing now when there is this emphasis on, trying to make a profit or break even at least, or at least not, reduce your burn rate as much as you can? Have you seen things change in the environment?
Yeah, I feel like it's changed. I feel like startups are also asking from investors a bit more than just money. So if we look at the VC model, where they would give them a lot of money and then just put pressure on them to deliver, and also be very against other investors that would bring stuff in kind, I think a lot of startups now are looking at different ways to get funding. And VCs are also probably funding a little less because they also struggle a bit more to raise funds, simply because, investors can place their money elsewhere because of these high interest rates, right? So I think it's changed a little bit. And I feel like startups understand the value of what we can offer a lot more, and really are careful about exactly how long of a runway they will get with the money that they're raising. People are a lot more aware of that because the money is now super expensive. So yeah, I think it has changed a bit.
And you're at the coalface of tech and development then. From what I've heard of VCs, now the majority of the pitch decks that they see are AI focused. Literally 90% of things that are getting funded seems to have some sort of AI narrative. How are you seeing that come through the market? And how's the Philippines in terms of, do we have the engineers? Do we have the machine learning kind of people that can support that?
So I think, if you see a pitch deck that doesn't talk about AI, I guess your valuation just goes down and you can raise less money. So I think there's a bit of that. There are true groundbreaking startups that do amazing stuff with AI, I'm pretty sure. There's also a lot that are leveraging existing solutions or that are creating products or services that probably are just going to make them disappear with the next update of ChatGPT, right? Because like every time ChatGPT releases something, it's probably killing 100 of businesses that are doing something in that space. Now, when we look at the talent in the Philippines, when it comes to AI, machine learning and all that stuff, unfortunately, I think we're very, very ill prepared for that. We're struggling to find AI talent. The curriculum in universities and schools is just not ready for that. It's gone so fast. So they haven't been able to get ready. So for us, if we have to look for AI talent, we look elsewhere. Unfortunately, we do look elsewhere.
Right. And fundamentally, what is AI talent? If you're actually building the foundational model, that's serious stuff, isn't it? But most startups, I think they're the wrappers, aren't they? They're sort of AI wrappers. And is that sort of sophisticated development work, or is that sort of more of the traditional front end, back end and APIs and things like that?
Yeah, so that's right. I think it's a very important point you're making. If you are developing a large language model, for example, to take something that's pretty current, guys who have like a super deep expertise in that, and they're like in the US or in Europe, and that's like, top of the crop really. But when you encapsulate or a product or an AI product into a platform, then there's also a lot of software development that's required to go around that and to deliver the interface or anything in the background that is running around that. So that's where outsourcing still makes sense. You would not outsource the core of your IP to elsewhere. Wouldn't recommend that for a startup to do this. And then everything that is wrapping around these services can be actually outsourced. And that's where even us could help AI company deliver, their products or services, which is, what we're doing, for example, with hardware companies. We're looking at some investments in the robotic space, where one of the companies we're looking at is creating an exoskeleton to help patients recover from injuries in the legs, for example, like some other medical devices that are analyzing, AR, VR headsets. But then there's a lot of AI in the background that's analyzing the data they're getting from the cameras that are looking directly in the eye. That's the kind of stuff we're looking into and that we're investing in.
That's amazing. That's pretty bleeding edge stuff. And so you're saying like some of the team then is working from the Philippines on that? Like you have the kind of architects offshore, but then you have the team in the Philippines engineering that.
Yeah. So the core, like for example, in these two instances, you have the PhDs in Switzerland, because those are two Swiss companies we're looking into. And so we have like super kick-ass PhDs that have done their thesis around that, have gotten grants to develop like all the hardware and stuff like that. That's millions of dollars of money that's been poured in the hardware. But they usually are not great at everything around that and to, deliver the experience, deliver the dashboard, deliver the data to doctors or patients or whoever else needs to have access to the data. And so that's when we come in, we're like building all these visualization of the analytics for them. Or in the case of the exoskeleton, there's gamification around exercises that the patient can do with wearing these exoskeleton, right? So it's displayed on a screen and then you have instructions on the screen and stuff like that. And we would develop that. We would then develop the dashboards of the data that the exoskeleton has gathered, analyzing the movement of the patient and then distributing, I guess, the results to the doctor for further analysis on like how is the patient progressing or how's the patient progressing and what are the next steps.
Fascinating, isn't it? And as well, just even the concept of they're doing all this, which is very real world stuff, kind of robotics, and I think you need to be present, but these are people fulfilling that from the Philippines, halfway around the world. So it's incredible to see, isn't it?
And it's super cool projects to work on as a developer, right? Even if you're not working yourself on the actual hardware, at some point you might even, what's happening with our employees, we send them to Switzerland, for example, like, every year, maybe there's a few people of the team that go see our clients. And then in this case, they could probably, I guess, even play with the skeleton. I don't know. So it's just also like trying to get people to work on stuff that's really cool for them. It's like they're proud to be part of the project. It's cool devices. It's changing people's lives. So there's a real purpose behind what they're working on, right? So that's what we're trying to also find through Arcanys Ventures, is a funnel for really, like, as you said, cutting edge, interesting stuff that's meaningful.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. And critical as well that the team are treated as team members and partners. And also you're working alongside them as a partner. You're not just the call center doing the work. You're not the working bees. It's important that, the staff are empowered to become true partners.
Yeah, because of the knowledge they acquire also over time is absolutely critical for the business. So we can't let this go away, right? We have to protect our clients and the knowledge they transfer to us and make sure that they can keep on delivering. And then as an investor, obviously, we also want to make sure that this happens because it's increasing the valuation of the business, enabling them to, generate more revenue or, create better products and so on. So everything's aligned for us and the startup to, try to perform as well as they can.
Fascinating. Well, Fred, it's amazing catching up with you. I do these podcasts every week, and I've spoken to now hundreds of outsourcing firms, and so many outsourcing firms, of course, preach that they are doing well by their staff, and it's all these sort of social initiatives and things like that. And most, often when I'm on the podcast, I go to Glassdoor and I look them up, and some of them have shocking ratings, and they sort of shout from the mountaintop that they're doing everything for the staff, and it's all about the staff and staff first and things like that. And it doesn't show. And I'm just on your Glassdoor, and it's 4.8 out of 5 stars, and 98% would recommend to a friend. And so it's really, you're sort of leading by example, aren't you, and actions, and really investing in the team. And it looks like you're reaping the benefits there.
Yeah. We're getting so much back from the people, so I think it all started, many years ago when we started some cool initiatives. Alan and I tried trying to engage people, and we see the responses. And as we built the business, we had, more money to do the cool stuff. So, also we're having a lot of fun along the way because we're also participating in all that stuff. Like we're doing stuff that we think people would love and that we love as well. So we can put our, passion in what we do.
No, it's fascinating. And congratulations. And I'm really excited to, have another podcast in 2 or 3 years and see your progress with all of this. But it's really great to see. And you're submitting for OIR 2024. So good luck.
We'll try another angle this time and see if it resonates.
Good. Absolutely welcome. Fred, thank you so much. As always, I encourage people to reach out. And of course, if you want any developers or even investment in your startup, reach out. How can they find you, Fred?
Yeah, so they can find me on LinkedIn by typing Frederick Joye, Joye is my last name, or they could go for the startups that are looking for investment on ventures.arcanys.com, or for people who would like to hire developers from us, simply on arcanys.com, and that's ARCANYS.com.
Fantastic. Thanks, Fred. I'll put all of those in the show notes as well.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Derek. It's always nice to be on the podcast. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, please like it, rate it, or share it with someone who could benefit from it. Get in touch and tell me what you think on LinkedIn at Frederick Joye or via the link in the description below.